What up, y'all? Another episode. This one is regarding Mean Girl Syndrome. You're probably thinking, what in the world is this guy talking about? Why is he even bringing this up? Well, because I'm pretty sure everybody or somebody that's listening might know somebody that fits this description. And why is this important? Because some of us have wives, some of us have, daughters, right, sisters. And this specific syndrome might be something that they're dealing with in their circles, or maybe they're part of the issue, right? So I wanted to just go over it and to identify it if you don't already know what it is. So essentially, Mean Girl Syndrome, right, is the way women, little girls, treat other girls, right? And it's basically the equivalent to what you would call toxic femininity. And it is a desire for social dominance. It's rooted in fear of rejection, and it is rooted in insecurity, right? So women who behave like this have these issues, and these are some of the things that they do. So again, it is rooted in insecurity and envy. And it can start as young as, when they're little girls. So if you have a daughter or if you have somebody that is behaving in this way, or maybe they're experiencing this type of behavior from other people, you'll realize that it's coming from these things, right? So again, little kids are going to be little kids. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to test boundaries. So it's up to parents to identify this and to try to put, barriers to this, try to put a stop to it. Because if you don't do this, then your kid will grow up to be somebody that is more insecure and is more envious, and it will affect how they treat other girls, right? And again, it is this pursuit to want to dominate socially. And, again, they're conditioned, right? This happens because children will test boundaries. And if we do not put a stop to that, then they will continue to do this. And eventually they'll become adults thinking this is normal behavior, thinking this is okay, when it's not. And it affects their friendships. It affects their relationships. It affects everything, right? There's a saying by Jordan Peterson, right? Don't let your kids become people that you're not going to like or that other people are not going to like. So it's up to us as parents, if you have a little girl, to not allow her to become that. Because if you do, then, whose fault is it? It's not their fault. You're the one who is responsible for your kids. And if you're not becoming aware of these issues, then your kid could be a bully, essentially, right? So these are just some of the traits of Mean Girl Syndrome. And again, right, what is the purpose, right? What are some of the things that they do? Why do they do it? You'll see that this happens pretty much anywhere there is a group of women. This could be in school. This can be in the workplace. So it's almost unavoidable. And maybe, again, you have seen it, but have not been able to identify it or have not been able to name it. So if you are in a space that is dominated by women and you observe this, now you know what it is, and you'll be able to have some perspective. And hopefully you can stop it, right? Again, if it's relevant to you. If it's not, then I would say don't get involved. None of your business, right? That's my approach. But because, again, I'm married and because I have a daughter, right? For me, this is really, really important. And I want to bring awareness to those people who probably are in my position because, my wife growing up has told me stories about her when she was younger and how she was always outcasted by other girls because she did not fit into the dominant belief of group thinking. She's always been an individual for the most part. And this tends to isolate you when you do not do what the other girls tell you to do. And, like I said, if you have somebody in your life who is experiencing this could explain why maybe as a girl, you don't have too many friends, or maybe why you are the person who is doing the bullying, right? And that can explain a lot of things in your life, all right? Look, I get it. People are competitive, and that's normal, and that's okay. However, it becomes an issue when your competition becomes toxic, right? And again, you can see this in little kids, right? They're playing something, and then one of them loses, and what happens, right? If you are a jealous, envious person, then you'll try to isolate the person that beat you and then try to get other people on board to hate that person, and it becomes toxic, right? You're causing trauma into other people. Now, as a kid, you don't know you're doing this. You're just going off behaviors. You're going off feelings. And, again, it's up to the parents to put a stop to it, to say, look, this kind of behavior is not okay. You stop it right now. Otherwise, it's going to get worse. You think you're doing him a favor. You think that you're helping him out, but at the end of the day, you're not, because eventually somebody is going to stop that behavior. And what's going to happen when they face that? They're going to be too old by that point, and will not be able to acclimate as well compared to if you were to stop this, during childhood, right? And some of this stuff has gotten worse with social media. So a lot of teen girls, right, young women who are in social media probably amplify this. It makes it a lot worse. And, women who are developing their identity can be victims of virtual bullying, and it affects your self-esteem as a woman, right? I've seen this personally with people that I know, how virtual bullying can completely destroy somebody, and it sucks, right? Seeing that affecting somebody that you know personally, it's awful. And this also can translate into dating and relationships, right? For example, you have a mean girl who is the dominant one in the group, and then one of your friends or the people that you influence in that group maybe gets a boyfriend or whatever, or has different friends, and then this dominant mean girl doesn't like that because she's jealous. So what does she do? She gets in the way of your relationship, right? So fellas out there, if you have a wife, a girlfriend, and for whatever reason your girlfriend is behaving a certain way, she probably has somebody in her circle who is influencing her to think a certain way, and probably is part of a mean girl group. Therefore, she is not able to make up her own mind, and anything that person tells her is probably going to affect you. So again, this is why it's an issue for us, right? Because it eventually leaks down to us. And if we do not put a stop to it, then it's a problem, right? So if your girl is part of a mean girl group, even if she's not the leader of the mean girl group, that's going to be a problem. It's going to affect your relationship. And you do not want that to be an issue, because now you are the person who is going to be affected by it. Not just her. It's going to be you as well, right? So how do we recognize these patterns? What can we do to protect our peace, right? Again, if you are a woman, think about this. If you have friends who are constantly telling you to do something that you don't want to do, these people are not your friends. You're part of a mean group, and you are probably not the dominant one. Now, if you are the dominant one, then all you're doing is influencing people to do things that you want them to do, right? And sometimes, a lot of the times, these things are not good for anybody but the person that is doing the influencing, that is doing the controlling, right? The dominance. So ask yourself, if you're a woman, especially if you are a woman in a relationship with a man, and these women are telling them, oh, he's toxic, he's perpetuating toxic masculinity because of X, Y, and Z. That person is probably part of a mean group. So you do not want to be with that person. Or if you are, you got to make them aware. Look, honey, sweetie, what's happening to you, you're being manipulated by somebody in your group, and they don't care. They might be miserable. They might have a bad relationship. And you know what? That's their deal. It's not our fault. So as a man, be aware of that this can happen to you as well. Can they change? Can these mean girls change? Can they outgrow this behavior? Look, the only way they're going to do that is if you do this often and early. If it is not checked when they are little girls and they are doing this, it's going to get a lot more difficult for them to change this behavior, especially if this behavior is giving them the things that they want, right? If they are influencing people to do what they want, they're not going to change. So again, if you are a parent and you are noticing this type of behavior in your daughter, look, I get it. You want your daughter to have the best. You want your daughter to be the best, but not at the expense of hurting somebody else. That's not what you want to do, right? So if you're seeing that, then you have to step back and reflect on that and be like, look, is my kid a mean girl, right? Or on the other hand, if your daughter is part of a group where she's being bullied, but because she wants to be accepted by that group, she is willing to be bullied, also have a conversation with your daughter and say, look, it's not okay. You don't need to be friends with these people who are not going to have your back, who don't care about you. So it goes either way. And again, if you have a girlfriend or a wife who is part of a mean group, same thing applies, right? Because these things, they will leak out even into adulthood. It doesn't matter, right? It starts when they're young, but when they get older, it continues. So I have observed this. I've worked with a lot of women in women-dominated spaces, and I've seen this firsthand. I've seen how women treat themselves, how they treat other women. It is awful to see this, right? It's not the same way that we would treat ourselves, men. Not to say that we do things perfectly or that we do things correctly, but this type of behavior is passive-aggressive. And to me, from what I've seen women literally lose their entire relationship to maintain that mean girl group because they're loyal to these people, right? They believe that. And I truly believe that a lot of women today are in these circles, not knowing that they are in these circles, because again, it is difficult for a lot of women, or really people in general, to think as individuals, right? This is why we have a lot of women today who are doing things that they probably don't want to do. For example, right? Promiscuity, right? There are some women who are more promiscuous than other women. And sometimes women in these groups don't want to do that. They don't want to behave in these types of ways. But what happens? The one who is dominant might be, right? Or maybe she understands that a woman who does that probably is going to have less chances at a serious relationship, right? And she will manipulate that other woman in that group to do things that she knows is against her values. And the woman in that group who is young and easily influenced will do it. Will do harm to herself because she's afraid to step out of that group, to be ostracized, right? To be outcasted. And like I said, right, my wife has experienced a lot of these things. And because of her values, she has chosen not to have friends with women because of the way they behave, right? The way they conduct themselves in these groups. And it's really, really difficult to avoid this, right? Once again, whenever you see large groups of women, a lot of the times when they go out and stuff like that, usually one of them is a dominant one, and they will decide for the entire group what is best for the entire group. Now, this doesn't happen in all female spaces, but I've seen it a lot in in these spaces. Again, the mean girl syndrome. So you might be a woman who is in these spaces doing things that you don't want to do for the sake of what? Being part of the social circle. You're fed all these ideas that you think are good for you because society is improving, society is progressing, but you don't believe any of that. You do it because you do not want to be part of a group that is going to ostracize you, that is going to outcast you, right? You'd rather do all that to be part of that. And that's the issue, right? That women today are being influenced to do things they don't want to do because the larger society thinks it's okay. I would even argue that we have a huge mean group society, right? Where women are being told, hey, be exactly like men. They can do it. Why can't we do it? No, right? So that's all I wanted to say on this. It is, again, something that's relevant as a husband, as a father to a daughter, seeing some of these symptoms already, right? I wanted to speak on it. It's something that's very, very close to me. And again, if you are a woman hearing this, maybe this resonates. If you are a man who's young and is dating somebody who has a relationship with a girl who maybe is part of a group and she's being told, hey, like, your boyfriend is toxic, don't believe, whatever they tell him, it doesn't matter, right? She is probably being influenced by a mean girl group, and maybe she should reconsider who her friends are, and maybe you should also set boundaries and say, look, if this is going to affect our relationship, if you believe that these friendships are worth it, despite the fact that they're not good for you, then maybe it's not worth continuing the relationship. I've seen a lot of dudes who will compromise that, who will allow this, and the disrespect continues throughout the entire relationship because a man is not able to put boundaries because he does not want to appear as being toxic. Look, if you want to be influential as a man, if you want to be able to lead as a man, you have to be able to set boundaries with the woman that you're with. And if it doesn't work out, if she's not able to respect that, you don't force her. You don't make her do it. You set your boundaries. You set what is acceptable. And if she's not on board with that, then you make a decision, right? I personally, right, the way I lead is that way. These are my boundaries. This is what I expect. And if you can't meet it, it is what it is, But it's worked for 12 years. So on that note, y'all, this is Daniel again. Once again, thank you for supporting the channel. You guys can support it by sharing it. If you guys would like to donate, also take donations, whatever it is that you want to do, comment, like it. Even if you don't agree, please let me know why you don't agree. And maybe in the future, we can have a conversation via live. And yeah, to the next one, y'all. Peace.